Ooh. Kapow. Historic Jericho, a beautiful modern city that some say was one of the first cities to have, amongst other things, walls. Yes, Jericho was quite the metropolis. There was just one problem. The city planners of Jericho failed to fully research the records of ownership for this particular piece of real estate. This land had been promised to the descendants of one Abraham by none other than the Almighty God.
Morning! I couldn't help but notice that... Well, I think that you might be cutting into my property line there. So...
No, I'd say I'm about a cubit shy, actually.
After hundreds of years, this dispute was finally coming to a head, and caught right in the middle of it was this woman, Rahab. An innkeeper, a maker and seller of linens,
Is my husband in there?
and a practitioner of the oldest profession. Hero to the Israelites. Only she had never met one.
Greetings.
Until just then. And, though welcoming strangers was her business, these were out-of-towners that no innkeeper would want to meet. At that time, the descendants of Abraham, the Israelites, had emerged from the desert into the Promised Land. Inevitably, a number of diverse people had also claimed the land of milk and honey, so there was some house cleaning to be done. The first major obstacle in their conquest was Jericho, which stood at the entrance of the Promised Land. Joshua, leader of the Israelites, wisely decided to send in some spies to assess the area.
Hi.
Whoa.
Reconnaissance!
Somehow, word had gotten out about the, spies. Fortunately, they had come to the right place.
Who's at the door? Are you gonna get that? Oh!
Whoa.
Rahab hadn't held on to her house and multiple businesses without the ability to tell which way the wind was blowing.
Spy!
However, these Israelite spies represented the coming of drastic change. Rahab was in the middle of a dangerous game. She'd heard of the Israelites, how God was with them, how they'd utterly destroyed several kingdoms. The fall of Jericho was more than likely a foregone conclusion. It was clear who she should side with, but could they be trusted? Would they honor an agreement with someone of her status, or would they only use her? Despite these lingering doubts, she decided to trust them and their God. In the evening, Rahab went to the spies to propose a deal.
Psst! Rahab!
Rahab told the spies that she knew the city would soon fall by the Lord's hand, but given her kindness to them, could they not see it in their hearts to spare her?
Our lives for your lives.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Because the gods had locked the town gates, she let them out a window in the wall.
Put a red cord in the window.
And don't leave this house.
But
After hiding in the hills for 3 days, they returned to Joshua, saying they had it on good authority having meticulously studied the underside of some flax, hid out in some caves near the city, and talked to some very reliable sources that the Jerichoans were quaking in their boots.
Oh, and don't kill Rahab.
Who? Oh, she's in a house. In the wall, there's a red cord and Oh, darn. Whoa, wait, hold up, hold everything. Time out.
Rahab!
Quick, gather your father, your mother, your brothers, your turtles, and all of your groceries.
What about my sisters?
You have sisters?
So Rahab helped the Israelite spies, and God rewarded her by saving her and her family. One of the few Canaanite families allowed to live amongst the Israelites. One might be surprised to know that God called upon the faith of a prostitute to help bring down the walls of Jericho. What may be even more surprising is that faith also brought about a line of her descendants that includes several Israelite kings, and a certain gentleman who was also known for bringing down walls. Metaphorically, of course. The Old Testament has an entire book devoted to the people who were called judges. The Israelites expected a lot from their judges, for they led the tribes in the golden days of Israel, before kings came along and muddled things up. The most famous judge in the Old Testament, of course, is Samson. Samson slew 1,000 Philistines using nothing but the jawbone of a donkey. Bam! Then there was Gideon, who defeated the Midianites by blowing 300 trumpets.
Okay, a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, people.
Then there was the only woman ever to be called a judge, Deborah. Deborah was called by her people the Mother of Israel.
That's a bit much.
Of course, what Deborah is possibly best known for is the Song of Deborah.
We're not doing the song.
Deborah sat wisely beneath the palm tree that bore her name, prophesying, settling disputes, and passing judgment.
How I can sit wisely is beyond me. Men.
At that time, the Israelites had been oppressed for 20 years by the Canaanite king and his most vicious commander, Sisera. Sisera commanded 900 chariots of iron and was assumed to be undefeatable. One day, Deborah summoned the Israelite commander, Barak. Deborah explained to Barak that the Lord was ready to deliver Israel from the Canaanite king. She commanded him to muster 10,000 troops to meet Sisera on the battlefield. Barak was less than enthused. Deborah reiterated that it wasn't her idea, but God's. Barak told Deborah he might consider mustering the troops and going to war if she went with him.
Okay, but this battle won't bring you glory, for the Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman.
Huh?
Deborah was confused. How could Barak not believe a woman would destroy Sisera when he refused to go into battle without a woman by his side? She considered pointing this out, but
Men.
she decided they had more important things to do. The morning of the great battle, Barak suddenly seemed to remember Sisera's 900 chariots of iron.
Eep up! For this is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone out before you? What did I say? We're not doing the song.
Just then, a strange thing happened. Without even waiting for the rest of Barak's army to appear, the Lord threw Sisera and his 900 chariots into a terrible panic.
Did I not say the Lord has gone out before you?
Scholars differ on exactly what sort of panic the Lord visited on Sisera. Some say it was hailstones. Others claim it may have been thunder, lightning, and a mighty wind. Still, others would say it really doesn't matter how God managed it. God could have used anything.
Go after him! No, no, no!
Oh.
Sisera ran from the battlefield through the land of Heber the Canaanite. Though Heber was descended from the family of Moses, he and all his people had made peace with the Canaanite king. Yes, that's right. Heber and all his people had made peace with the Canaanite king.
Oh.
Heber's own wife, Jael, came out to Sisera and offered him sanctuary in her tent. Sisera was very thirsty from all that running and screaming. He asked Jael for a simple glass of water, but she brought him milk instead to help him relax. As he was drifting off, Sisera asked Jael to stand outside the tent and keep a guard over him while he got some rest. Barak stopped, shocked to see his fiercest foe defeated by a woman.
But didn't I warn you? The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman.
Prophesy it, sister.
This great victory was immortalized in the Old Testament with a lovely poem called the Song of Deborah. The Song of Deborah. The Song of Deborah.
Okay, all right. Kick it, kids.
Arise, Barak, take captive your captives, son of Abinoam. Most blessed of women, BJL, the wife of Heber the Canaanite. Most blessed of tent-dwelling women. So perish your enemies, oh Lord.
Okay, that's enough. It's way longer than that, but you get the idea.
And so, thanks to Deborah and Jael, the land of Israel had peace for 40 years.
Hee, then it's my turn.
Men.
The book of Judges speaks of a Judean man named Manoah and his wife. While happily married, they were unable to have children. However, God struck a deal with the unfortunate couple. God would grant them a son on one condition. He must take the vow of a Nazirite. This meant that he must abstain from wine, vinegar, grapes, and raisins, refrain from touching corpses, and he must never, ever cut his hair, not even a trim.
Uh-huh.
9 months later, Samson was born. As Samson grew, so did his strength and his ego. Samson perhaps knew too well that he was special, and so had little regard for laws, authority, or human empathy, which was a problem for several reasons. At that time, Samson's people, the Judeans, had long been conquered and ruled over by the Philistines. In most cases, due amounts of taxes and respect were paid. Samson, however, ignored such obligations. He did as he pleased at all times. One of the first major disputes centered around Samson's desire to marry a Philistine woman, which would break several Judean and Philistine laws. Samson wed the Philistine woman despite their parents' objections. The bliss of matrimony barely lasted through the reception, however. At the wedding feast, Samson made a wager with his in-laws over solving his riddle that involved lions and honey. However, the bride revealed the answer to her father. Samson responded by murdering 30 Philistines to settle the bet. He returned to find that his father-in-law had in turn given his bride away to Samson's best man. So Samson concocted an elaborate revenge.
Hey, you little vermins! What's the fire in the tail? Stop it!
Josiah, are you okay? You're a little on fire there.
The Philistines were furious over Operation Kamikaze Fox Blitzkrieg and sought vengeance by incinerating the home of Samson's estranged bride. The Philistines fought fire with fire. Samson fought fire with axes. Samson's violence was a public relations nightmare. The people of Judah were forced to hand Samson over to the Philistines. The stability of their nation depended upon it. Samson put up little resistance. His only request was that his own people not kill him. The crowd conceded this point readily. The thought of killing him had never crossed their mind. Once in the clutches of the Philistines, however, Samson's non-violent resistance became alarmingly violent. Samson's brutal slaying of the Philistines was so violent that we cannot show or even describe it here. So instead we'll describe this donkey. It was a fine donkey of good breeding stock, firm haunches, sturdy, and possessing the most gentle effect. Its hide was exceptionally soft and well-groomed. Now the tail...
I'm done.
Ah, good.
With this, the jawbone of a donkey, I have made donkeys of them all.
The Judean people made Samson their judge. The previous judge resigned with little protest.
You're it.
Cute.
This did little to humble Samson. In fact, quite the opposite. The lines between him and God were beginning to blur. While travelling in the valley of Sorek, Samson laid eyes upon another Philistine woman named Delilah.
Ooh.
He immediately fell in love.
Kapow.
And despite the protests of everyone, she became his lady friend. Eager to redeem themselves after the embarrassing jawbone debacle, the Philistines pressured Delilah to betray Samson. They instructed her to discern the source of Samson's inhuman power.
Samson!
Delilah weighed her options, but ultimately sided with her people. Delilah took great pains to not seem obvious.
So,
What's the secret of your great strength, and how can you be tied up and subdued?
Oh, bind me with fresh bowstrings.
Her plan would have worked too. Was Samson not a pathological liar? Delilah was furious and demanded to be told the truth.
All right. Just tie me with new ropes.
My leg!
Oh!
Samson!
Okay, you got me. Now what you need to do is weave the 7 braids of my head into a fabric. Yawn.
My thumb!
Delilah nagged and prodded him for many days. Samson tried to ignore her entreaties, but eventually surrendered to Delilah's persistence. Samson told her everything. He told her of his mother's infertility, of her pact with the angel, of the power of his golden locks. What did it matter? Samson was certain no one could subdue him, hair or no hair. Delilah wasted no time. The ploy worked.
What? Huh?
The Philistines bound him, gouged out his eyes, and sentenced him to slave labor in a mill. Samson found himself at a rather low point in his journey. As time passed, he began to see that he had taken his gifts for granted and exploited his relationship with the Lord to his own ends. The Philistines celebrated the capture of Samson. They brought him into their false god's temple and mocked him mercilessly.
Take that! Murderer!
Who's the donkey now, Samson?
You're right. You're right.
Blasphemer! Heathen!
Lord, strengthen me only this once, so that I might die with the Philistines.
For the first time in his life, Samson asked for help.